Welcome back, Cheeseheads, to another episode of BAM GPG. So,
Yeah.
Bryson, last week in our pick'ems, we were 12-4. See if we can do a little bit better this week. We're going to go through the games here. Obviously, Thursday night football is over with, but of course, everyone in America knew the Bills were going to win that game. It was interesting, though,
Yeah.
that Miami kept it closer than what I did expect, but of course,
Yeah.
the Bills came out victorious there. So let's go to the next game on the list here, Bryson's. You have the Titans versus the Colts. Now, the Colts are a surprising one. I didn't think they'd be out of the gates as good as they have been this year, and I still don't know if I'm bought into them yet. But they are taking on a Tennessee team. Who do you have in this game?
I get the cool.
The Colts. The Colts going 3-0 on the season. And then the next game here you have, it's an interesting one. Neither team I think is really that great. Atlanta did have a decent win in Minnesota, although Minnesota, their offense, nothing to write home about either. So you have the Falcons versus the Panthers here, Bryson. Who do you have in this one?
The Falcons.
I would agree. I think the Falcons are going to win that one too. And then you have the Commanders taking on the Vegas Raiders. I'm going to go with the Commanders here. I think they bounce back after that week 2 loss to Green Bay. So I'm going to take the Commanders there. And then, of course, you have the Green Bay Packers taking on the Cleveland Browns on Sunday. Who do you have there, Bryson?
This one's an obvious one. The Green Bay Packers.
I agree. So the Packers there. And then this one is a good matchup. I do like this game here. You got a couple young quarterbacks going at it here. Bo Nix. I'm a big fan of his. I think he's trending in the right direction. I think that team is trending in the right direction. They have a good defense. I think their offense is, they did lose last weekend, unfortunately, but I do like the Broncos as a team overall, but the Chargers are also pretty good with Justin Herbert. Who do you have here, Bryson? This is a tough one.
I mean, oh gosh. I got the Chargers.
The Chargers at home against the Broncos, and then the Houston Texans play the Jacksonville Jaguars. You know, before this happened, I may have went with the Jaguars on this one. I just don't like that interaction between Trevor Lawrence and the head coach there in Jacksonville towards the end of the game there last week. I mean, maybe they'll get it right and kind of reconcile things. I just don't like the way that's headed. I'm going to take the Texans in this one against the Jaguars. And then, Bryson, you have the Saints versus the Seahawks here.
I think we got to put the Seahawks.
I agree. They had a pretty big win over the Pittsburgh Steelers last week. And then the battle of backup quarterbacks. You got the Bengals taking on the Minnesota Vikings here. The Vikings are at home. I'm going to give this one to the Bengals. Both teams have great offenses, right? Both teams have great weapons.
That job work.
It does. But I think the Bengals are going to be fine here. I got the Bengals winning that one. And then, of course, the Dallas Cowboys are hitting the road to play the Chicago Bears, who are 0-2 to start the year. Who do you have here, Bryson?
I think the Bears are going to be 0-3.
0-3 Bears. So the Cowboys going into Chicago and getting the win before the Week 4 matchup against the Green Bay Packers. It does. Yes, they lost week 1 to the Eagles. And then the next game here, the Pittsburgh Steelers coming off a loss last week to the Seahawks. They're going to be taking on the New England Patriots, who they have a sneaky, solid defense, the Patriots do. Offensively, again, nothing spectacular on the offensive side, but a pretty solid defense. Aaron Rodgers and the Pittsburgh Steelers taking on the Patriots.
I got Aaron Rodgers in that.
I agree. I got Pittsburgh bouncing back here with a week 3 win. And then the next matchup, Bryson, the Cardinals versus the San Francisco 49ers. Who do you have here?
I got the Cardinals.
The Cardinals. All right. Upset. They're going on the road and beating the 49ers. And then the LA Rams are taking on the Eagles. This is also an interesting one. LA's has a fantastic defensive front. They can really get to the quarterback and disrupt timing. The interesting thing about the Eagles is Jalen Hurts, he's not that great of a passer, right? So the Eagles win a lot of their games on the ground. I'm almost sick of the tush push at this point. Just get rid of that damn play. But I think this is going to be a good matchup, right? I think the Rams defense is good enough to stop that ground game of Philadelphia. Um, I'm going to pick an upset here. I'm going to take the Rams over the Eagles in Philadelphia here. Going to hand the Eagles their first loss of the season. And then that brings us to Kansas City versus the Giants.
I really hate to say it, but I gotta go with Kansas City.
Kansas City
I hate to say it.
getting their first win of the season on the road against the Giants. And then you have the New York, New Jersey Jets taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Bryson, who do you have here?
The Buck.
I agree. And then the Monday night, kind of the cap of week 3 here, the Detroit Lions versus the Baltimore Ravens
Game.
in Baltimore. There's a lot of great matchups this week. You look at the Eagles Rams, you look at the Broncos Chargers, you got the Lions taking on the Ravens here. Where are you headed with this one, Bryce? I got in my head who I think is going to win this game.
I would go with the Ravens.
I'm going to go with the Ravens too. If I remember correctly, last time these two teams met up, it may have been in Baltimore too. Baltimore kind of ran away with that game there. I do like the Ravens here, so Lions are going to start off the season 1-2 here. But there are winners this weekend, Bryson. We have the Bills, Colts, Falcons, Commanders, Packers, Chargers, Texans, Seahawks, Bengals, Cowboys, Steelers, Cardinals in an upset, Rams in an upset, the Chiefs, Buccaneers, and the Baltimore Ravens. So that's our week 3 picks. Let's see if we can beat our last week's picks. We were 12-4 last week. See if we can top that in week 3. And as always, Bryson,
Let's go, Pack, go.